privilege to tell a little bit of his story to you today. Do you notice something interesting about the background of Eddie Wu's picture? That'll give you a hint about what he devotes his life to. Well done again, Emma Clossy, for an amazing Play-Doh depiction. Everything you see in that image is Play-Doh. So cool. So remember how this works, guys. My big head and Bertie's beautiful big head won't be in it at the end. You get to just have that strength balloon to yourself. You pick 3 character strengths, and you pick 3 character strengths that you find evidence from the story that I share with you. What does that mean? It just means that I will share some bits of Eddie's story, and you look for times in his life that he has shown those strengths, or he continues to show those strengths. And remember, we all have character strengths. There's nothing special about having them, but knowing them can have a great impact on our life. So Eddie Wu, as you know, I always like to spotlight some of their achievements, and then we dive into his character strengths. He's an Australian secondary school teacher, a maths teacher. He's a writer. He's got brilliant books. He has his own YouTube channel. He's got 1 million subscribers on his YouTube channel because they're so fantastic, the maths lessons he puts on there. He's had more than 57.7 million views on that channel. He's also won numerous awards for being an incredible teacher, one of which was being one of the 12 Australian teachers to win a Commonwealth Bank Teaching Award. And he's also won the Local Hero, Australia's Local Hero Award in 2018. Now, you think all these things might have made Eddie maybe a little bit big for his boots. Maybe, maybe not, but it hasn't. He is still incredibly humble and a really lovely person. So why I like Eddie's story, there is a few reasons. If you know Grow Your Mind, you'll recognize this tree. And we call this the growth mindset tree. And the whole idea of growth mindset is that if you have a growth mindset, when you hit a problem, you believe that you can overcome it. You know that real success comes from sticking with things. And so the idea is none of us are born with a fixed amount of intelligence. And at Grow Your Mind, we talk about growth mindset, and we also talk about benefit mindset. And what I love is that Eddie Wu has both of these. Now, here is a confession. When I was a primary school student, I had a real fixed mindset for maths. I just used to internally say, so that means no one else could hear me say it, I would say, I can't do maths, or I find maths hard, or it's too hard. And I sort of would tune out. And Eddie Wu's big mission is to teach children, and particularly high school students who've really got a fixed mindset as well, that maths is everywhere and that we can all learn maths once we find its purpose. Otherwise, it's kind of like all these random numbers and what's the point of doing it? And he really tries to shine a light on the fact that maths is part of everything that we do in life and that anyone can learn it with excellent teaching and with a bit of purpose as well. So as with all of these Guess Who series people, they tend to love learning. They tend to love books and numbers and what have you. But Eddie actually had much more of a tendency and a leniency towards English. He loved English, and he thought maths is sort of something you just did, just to sort of crunch numbers, if you like. And then he started realizing, as I said, that maths is actually of vital importance, and there's so much beauty in maths as well. Now, his school experience wasn't terribly happy. He was quite small, and he got picked on. He was growing up in a time in Australia. Now, racism still exists, obviously, but there was a lot of racism towards Asian kids and Asian people. And his parents had sacrificed a lot. They were living in Malaysia. His mum was a news reporter. His dad had all his family there, but the education system was not good enough. And they really believed that their 3 children should have access to the best education possible. So they made a huge sacrifice to come to Australia, which has a fantastic education system, but where the society weren't that accepting of the way that they looked. And Eddie and his brother and sister grew up feeling Australian, looking Asian, and it was quite a tricky process and a tricky time for him at school. He loved books, as I said, so much, and sometimes he would go and the other kids would see that he loved books and they'd take his books, they'd rip them up, and he'd find them in the playground. Or he would even be beaten up as well. And his parents were very supportive of him, very loving of him, but also incredibly steadfast in their encouragement that he still needed to go to school and that he needed to have this awareness that life wasn't always fair, but if he stuck with it, things would work out for him in the end. And Eddie really surprised them and shocked them because he was incredibly academically smart. He did very well in his final years of school, despite lots of things happening at home, which I'll go into in a minute. But he had this dream to be a teacher. And at first his parents went, whoa, we didn't leave Malaysia for you just to be a teacher. You got to be a doctor or a lawyer. You could do anything. But he had that real flame and that real passion to give back and to be a good teacher. He could see the impact education could have. And he stuck with it. And it turns out he's a truly magnificent teacher. Now, as I said, Eddie's life was not without sadness, was not without huge setbacks and huge loss. This is his beloved mother, who was very ill with lung cancer in his final years of school. And this had a real impact on Eddie because at that time he actually had a few teachers that were incredibly loving and supportive to him, that basically told him that this was one part of his life. If he didn't do well in his final exams, there was a lot left of life where he could do well and give back, and that he was destined to do great things. And his mother did die, and he was incredibly sad and incredibly grief-stricken. And for Eddie, something that he got comfort in was his Christian faith. So he had a huge belief that his mother would be okay. Now, this story of his mother, though, had a big impact on him because when he went to teach, one of his students was really chronically ill with another form of cancer. And Eddie decided that he would start recording his lessons. Little did he know that students were also sharing those recorded lessons with other students in the school, and then those students were sharing with other students in other schools. And suddenly, Eddie Wu was on a bus one day and people started recognizing him as, hey, you're that maths guy, because he's got energy and charisma and he's got passion and he wants you to learn, and people love watching it. Now, this one, I really recommend watching this after the talk. It's called Learning Mathematics with WooTube. And in it, it really has this beautiful message of maths being stunning and everywhere and part of life's intricacies. And it's quite inspiring as well. So he recorded that and it was a huge sensation. Now, he could make lots of money off YouTube. Apparently, that's what you can do in this day and age. And he chooses not to, because what he says is if someone is watching his maths lessons and they're a teenager and they're watching his maths lessons, he doesn't want to bombard them with ads. So he's got huge ethics and responsibility as well. He says one of the most important qualities of a teacher is to be compassionate. He has one rule in his classroom, and that is the human rule. And he says it really simply. He says, I will treat you all like humans, and I would like you to treat me like a human. What he's saying there is treat each other with respect, with love, with kindness. As I keep saying, he really has this passion to share the beauty of maths. He loves snowflakes, for example, and shapes. And it's really quite contagious. He's kind of getting me a bit hooked on maths too. Now, his kindness and his compassion spreads everywhere. And here he is pictured with the founder of an incredible charity called School of Life. And I am lucky enough to know this human. I went to school with her for a few years. She was a couple of years below me. Her name is Annabelle Chauncey. She has set up fantastic schools in Uganda. And she invited Eddie Wu to go over there to support the teachers. But Eddie Wu, being Eddie Wu, was a huge hit with the students as well. They all absolutely adored him. And he really is one of those people that loves to give back. He also loves to spread kindness. He was just recently doing work with Kind July, where he released a little clip where it really spoke to what we try and teach at Grow Your Mind, that kindness comes through recognizing and impact. So recognizing means that you look for ways to be kind. You recognize maybe someone that would like to be included in your game, or that maybe someone needs help carrying something. And then impact. You can understand that your actions have an impact. And that means that if you're not being terribly kind, that actually has a really negative impact on someone else, and it can work the other way too. And if you think about it, we talk about it as being a bucket filler from that fantastic book, Have You Filled a Bucket Today? And the whole idea is when we fill other people's buckets, then with kindness and with thoughtfulness, then we end up feeling good as well. It's a great book. Make sure you read it at some time with your teachers. Eddie's got a beautiful family who he really prioritizes spending time with. He's got a strong Christian faith. that really helps him be able to balance life as well. And really, he's got this mentality of wanting students to know that they can achieve anything. He wants them to know you can. He really believes that the more that students understand that their attitudes and their behaviour, regardless of all those things that might happen in a classroom, that if students know that they're capable and that they know that people believe in them, then amazing things can happen. Go, Eddie Wu. So guys, this is the pausing time where Bert and I are going to take a moment to just discuss what we think Eddie Wu's 3 core character strengths are. So pause it, pause it, pause it. All right, let's have a look. I should have had the balloon up before for you guys, but I'll put it over here, put my face out of the way. What do you guys think? What are his core, oh, there's a phone call. What are Eddie Wu's core character strengths? Look at the balloon. What did you come up with? I'm going to tell you mine because you probably paused it just before. I'm going to go with spirituality. I think his Christian faith helped him throughout life. I'm going to go with reverence because he can see this incredible respect for the planet and the way that mass is connected with everything. And I have to go with kindness. Feels like Eddie shows that kindness with his generosity with recording his lessons and sharing it with anyone around the world. And in the way that he continues to say we need to be kind, we need to recognise ways to be kind and know our impact. So thank you, Eddie Wu, for being our Guess Who. And may we all learn to love mass. Bye-bye.